It is a sense of great responsibility combined with a great sense of enthusiasm, excitement. Obviously, it was a wonderful, wonderful platform for us to kind of showcase what we could do with such a massive adaptation, taking up such a cult series and adapting it to India. So it was a challenge. The first feeling was a sense of responsibility combined with a lot of excitement. It sits rather well, if you see. I mean, adapting Fauda to the Indian context makes it even more sensitive. Because when we talk of Fauda, we are talking of essentially two separate entities. In our case, we are talking about the same country. It is the ethos of the same country. It is an infight. It is the people of the same country fighting with each other. It makes the subject that much more delicate. You know, you have to handle it even more with kid gloves. So when you translate a Fauda into the Indian context, you have to be extra careful about how sensitively you handle the people of the same country fighting for different values. Whenever you pick the subject of a Kashmir, especially Kashmir in India, it is like trying to walk on eggs without breaking the shell. You cannot be frivolous about tackling something like Kashmir because we are dealing with real emotions, real incidents, real people who have been through a lot, right? So we cannot afford to be frivolous or irresponsible when we treat something like a Kashmir, when we tackle something like a Kashmir. So the effort was to be neither overtly very jingoistic about things, that these security Indian forces going and creating havoc out there and creating hell and kind of destroying all the so-called villains out there. It's not about that. And we could certainly not be subtly anti-national. So it had to be a very, very balanced, very, very sensitive, very, very balanced approach, an attempt to show the ground realities of how the conflict kind of infiltrates the personal lives of the people we are talking about. And not only that, the lives of these security people, the security personnel, even they don't have it easy. Their personal lives are also affected by what they do in Kashmir. By their sense of, by their obligation to their duties, by their relentless hours that they keep, by the very nature of their duty, even their personal lives suffer, which is also shown in Tanaav. The nature of their duty is extremely, I'm sure it trickles down to their personal lives, which is the attempt to show here. That was the whole challenge. We were not wanting to sermonize anything. We were not wanting to take any side in this case. The attempt was to just show from a very objective angle, show the sufferings on both sides and how this conflict affects personal lives of anyone concerned with the value. So it was not an attempt. It was not an attempt to take a stand of who's right, who's wrong, who's a good boy, who's a good person, who's a bad person, who's a villain and who's a hero. It's not about heroes and villains. Everybody in this story is suffering in some way or the other. It is a very balanced and objective way of showing that story in a very sensitive and a responsible manner, which was the big challenge. When one sits here in Bombay, thousands of kilometers away, and one thinks of shooting in Kashmir, there are all kinds of scary thoughts that come to the mind, because what reaches us in Bombay, in a faraway place like this, or Chennai, or wherever, are primarily the so-called bad incidents and events that happen out there. I mean, a happy wedding anniversary in Kashmir, a birthday celebration of Kashmir will not reach your ears. So what we get to hear are always the disasters and disturbances that happen there. So one was slightly wary before we started our location hunts and before we started going to Kashmir. One was slightly wary. We even thought of not going to Kashmir, shooting it somewhere else in Himachal or something like that. the ball swung in favor of authenticity and making it as real as possible. The nature of topography, the houses, the locales that are there in Kashmir cannot be replicated anywhere in India. So the ball eventually swung in that favor. But when we went to Kashmir, it was a total eye-opener. The people went out of their way to help us in every way. I remember one morning, we were shooting a very key sequence uh, in the heartland of Srinagar, and we were all told by the local coordinators that this is a very sensitive area. So the sooner we shoot and the faster we get out of this place, and the lesser people we take with us, it's better, because anytime anything can go wrong there. It was a place called Mysuma in Srinagar. So I remember I had gone there with a crew of 10, 12 people and one key actor to capture that shot in the early morning sunlight or whatever. And when we were about to roll the camera, we saw a group of 5, 6 really hard-looking locals coming towards us with a sense of mission. And for a moment, we were all very scared. I mean, what is it? I mean, have we made a mistake? I mean, are we in for it? Are we done for? But it turned out that those 5 people, really hard and really, tough-looking people, were in fact coming to us to invite us over for a cup of kava to their place. They said कि आप यहाँ आए हैं, हमारे घर आइए, kava पीजिए, आप shooting कर रहे हैं हमारे यहाँ, हमारे घर चलिए. That is these are the revelations which start happening to you when you kind of, enter the so-called forbidden, which it is not. It's a wonderful, fabulous place. Why would it be deliberate? I mean, there was no attempt to make any kind of a point with some kind of bizarre casting, kind of make somebody go against his grain or whatever. They are just great actors who fitted the bill perfectly. Everybody was auditioned, everybody was screen tested, and whoever fitted the bill, I think the kind of roles they are performing, they fit the bill to the T. It was not an attempt to cast a Muslim as a Hindu or a Kashmiri Pandit as a militant. Never. It was not politicized at all, the process. I don't know. Cinema is a very potent medium. If you choose to make something a bold statement with cinema, you can do that. If you choose to take sides with cinema, you can do that. If you want to raise controversy with cinema, you can afford to do that. But in case of Tanaav, like I said, we looked at Tanaav more like a love story or a hate story than a political thriller. It is about the conflict affecting the personal lives of protagonists and actors and players, rather than us trying to make a political statement on the scenario that exists in Kashmir. Though that is the backdrop. The conflict is the conflict is the problem that is affecting the personal lives. In essence, Tanaav is basically a story of personal relationships, going right or going wrong, going left or going right. It is a story of either unrequited love, or it is a story of jilted love, or it is a story of extreme hate. It is not the attempt was never to make it a political or or something which can light up a conflagration in the entire nation. And I'm sure now that people are watching it, they are relating to it as a very personal, emotional drama, rather than it being a political thriller. Kashmir Files, I haven't really seen the film, but Kashmir Files did raise that conflagration. Kashmir Files did raise all those debates. So I'm sure that, it must have, the cinema must have been different in there. They must have treated the subject totally differently. On our part, we have focused more on the conflict affecting the personal lives of the players therein. In a war, eventually nobody wins. There was a time in the 80s when all our Bollywood films used to go to Kashmir for their song and dance sequences. Shammi Kapoor, Kashmir Ki Kali, this, that, and every Amitabh Bachchan, Rekha film, all dancing around trees and horse riding, this, whatever. Yeah, there have been some good web series which have come off late about Kashmir. Viruddh, I think Viruddh was one. But I haven't, like I said, I have not seen Kashmir Files. But yeah, the amount of buzz it generated, I'm sure there is something to the film. That's a very potent question, because yes, I think courtesy OTT, the whole economics and the whole scenario has changed drastically over the last 2.5 years of COVID and all that.
Yes.
Um, People sitting at home have suddenly been bombarded with some really good storytelling, courtesy OTT. There have been some
Mm.
really superlative scripts that have been kind of filmed and shown and telecast, and people are now more cinema savvy, I would say, courtesy OTT. They understand.
Mm.
They actually. I mean, I see normal people sitting in a Starbucks or whatever discussing the script. कि नहीं नहीं वो अच्छा था उसका स्क्रिप्ट ज्यादा अच्छी थी this was better that was
Oh.
better in that the problem was that that character was not very well written. I've heard these dialogues sitting in a coffee shop. So people
Oh.
courtesy being exposed tremendously to a bombardment of so many web series and direct to OTT movies and some really good writing also, I would say. Now they're much
Yeah.
more cinema savvy than they were, because earlier what happened was they were just whatever the number of releases was, they had to go to a theater to make it up. They had to go there for their families, to have popcorns, to have fun. There was not mm, really this much of a choice with the audiences like there is today.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
spoiled for choice. They're spoiled for
Yeah.
choices. I mean, I know of having subscribed to some channels which I've just not been able to even open once. They're just there. I've subscribed to them. But because there is so much else to see, I've not even had a
Yeah.
chance to see even one thing on
Yeah.
that platform, which is so yes, OTT has, and I think if filmmakers, the big cinema filmmakers, take it positively, OTT will force them to write better scripts.
Yeah.
You know,
Correct.
not take their not take their money giving audiences for granted, because now that same audience has the license to pay a minuscule amount and watch some really good stories unfold in their drawing rooms or bedrooms. We as feature filmmakers, it's time for us to pull up our writing socks for sure.